So we're going to start from where the point of this deck is. Alela here. Ideally, I am dropping her on turn 3. How am I doing that? I am doing that by playing some sort of mana rock before turn 3, so turn 1 or 2, as well as hitting all of my land drops. Isn't always going to happen, so turn 4 is also acceptable if I have decent setup. Uh, Problem has been that I'm getting stuck. I can get my mana base, but I can't get anywhere with it. Either I end up with some level of mana that is just not what my deck is requiring, so I have 4, but I'm looking for 5, 6, 7, or I'm just not getting the card draw that I need, and that has been preventing it from actually functioning. It tends to just kind of sit for 4 turns instead of setting up, and then once we get into actually creating stuff, everyone else can interact, remove important pieces, and I just slow down, stop, can't keep up. So what I'm trying to do is tune this in a way that we're gonna fix that. So the first thing I did, I went through, I took the actual deck of cards, and I went through and saw what was in the deck versus what I had in my deck list. Um, as I have up here, right now I've got 106 cards in the deck. So there were more cards in the deck list than were in the deck, and there were more cards that were in the deck than were in the deck list. So a couple notes like Kindred Discovery was in there, but I had flipped it over for Chronicle of Victory. So now the actual Chronicle of Victory is in there. Kindred Discovery is not. And then let's see, Dimir Signet, Crystal Skull were both still in there, even though I had removed them from the deck list. And so this is where I'm at with the 106. So where do I start? I have broken down the entire deck by what it's trying to do. So, like I said earlier, I want to try and get a Layla out turn 3. So we have our mana rocks, and then we also have effects like, okay, it used to be that I had larger or I had more tools in here. So I tend to dump everything over into the right hand side on maybe board. The point of this is to keep a track of what I used to run. And that way, if I'm like, oh, how did I solve this problem before? Or I need more draw, I can just look into the maybe board and see what the other options that I used to run. So, like for other draws, Fairy Formation was one of them. We have Greed, pretty standard one. Glenalendra for more anthem effects and what I'm doing, why, etc. So, uh, first thing to note, I pulled one with the multiverse. The reason I did this, I'm just going to move this over, uh, it just wasn't performing in the way that I wanted. Ultimately, what was happening, one with the multiverse, while replacing itself, so the it gives me a future sight effect, which is very helpful in this deck, and I'll explain that combo in a second. And it does replace itself in the turn that it comes down. So on turn, whatever, that I get the mana, play now I can immediately play something else. So that allows me to kind of write off the 8 mana, even though it's really heavy. Um, and then it also allows for, I think it's in value list right here. So Sensei's Divining Top and Cloud Key. So when Cloud Key comes down, I always name artifacts. So what that does is that makes Sensei's Divining Top free. Now, with Sensei's Divining Top and Future Sight effect, which is you may play the top card of your library, now I can cast Sensei's Divining Top off the top, get the Alela trigger to make a fairy, then immediately after activate Sensei's Divining Top to draw a card, tap it, draw a card, put it on top. Now, with the Future Sight effect again, I can cast it again, drop it out. So ideally, I have one of my 3 flash effects so that I can do this on someone else's end step. And then I choose how many cards I want to draw and how many fairies I want to create, ultimately making myself a large stack of fairies that on next turn are able to attack. It also fills up my hand with more anthem effects so that by the time I'm ready to attack with them, they're good to go. So that was one of the first cuts because I'm just like, I have one effect. I have Future Sight. Running the redundancy, yes, does allow me to get more consistency, but I'm just like, it's too heavy. Like, it's not worth that effect. The second one that I knew I wanted to cut was Proteus Staff. So this was more of a legacy piece that from a previous version of this deck. Um, Earlier on in this deck, there were very few creatures. I leaned more into the tribal, and especially with um, this set, the Return to Eldraine, where we got more fairies, we got more creatures. So let me go ahead and change this to type. So now I've got 10 creatures in here, and it used to be like two, three. Um, the big ones were like Ancient Gold Dragon, and then Elish Norn. The other one, oh, I just recently took this out too, was Mondrak. Mondrak was in, and then I took this out a while ago, but Oshertak. So the idea was every single activation of Proteus Staff is going to net me a bomb, is going to net me something that someone's going to have to deal with. But dumping into 10 creatures and like hitting Obira is awful. Like it's not where I want to be. It's not like I'm paying 3 mana to play it, 3 mana to activate it, and losing a fairy that probably came in off the Proteus staff for a 2 mana fairy. Like it's bad. It's very bad. Whereas like Mondrak or Ozhertak, I'm paying 6 mana to just dump them onto the battlefield. That's a huge problem right off the bat. Or like Roaming Throne, where all of a sudden now it's a token doubler or token tripler that is really getting me to a lot more effect. Um, so I'm fine with cutting the staff. This is something like I wanted to tune the deck down a little bit and make it like less powerful, which is why I include these. Like these are not great creatures. Like this Alela Cunning Conqueror is on the potential chopping block because I've run into times where she doesn't cast a single, she didn't trigger a single time, or by the time I have her out, I'm already in a position where I don't care. She does synergize with Notorious Throne in that I need to do Prowl for an extra turn, which is deal damage with a rogue. She creates rogues. So she creates the fairy rogue creature type. Um, I don't have a lot otherwise. I think Bitter Blossom creates the fairy rogues. Bloom, it doesn't create rogues. The new one, like the fairy type, dropped off. So we're actually in a different space with that one. I was kind of sad to see that. I really wish both Bitter Blossom and Bitter Bloom Bearer produced the fairy rogues. Then there would be no reason I could just cut her. She's also a 4 drop, so she's right where I want to be playing Alela. She's heavy, like to set up for the next turn, and they're in what I was talking about earlier of like running out of mana and not having the spells that I want to be casting. So she's something that I'm looking at cutting as well, but for now she's okay. Drop you out. Then the next one that I also decided to cut was Dazzling Theater Prop Room. So the nice part of this, I can drop it as Prop Room turn 3. Untap each creature you control during each other player's untap step. It's always nice to have that pseudo vigilance. Then with Dazzling Theater, I can unlock it, and if I have Flash, I can cast creatures, right? Um, the real advantage, even though I only have 10 creatures, is I can recast Alela. Alela tends to get removed a lot. Um, it just makes it more problematic. when she's not on the board, but like the deck will function still, especially if I've already created the fairy army. Like I don't need her on board to do it. This is just it's just underperforming in the way that I want. If this was a bigger creature heavier deck, especially with flash, it would be better, but just not cutting it. All right, so at this point now I'm down to 103. This is where I was before I left off. I noted that I had put Heraldic Banner into the deck, but I can't find a copy. I mean, I keep those. They're great budget. They're just great mana rocks. Like it's great in Dollar General. It's an anthem for blue creatures, which is what most of the tokens that I'm going to create make. And then it's a mana rock, so I get the double sided, which feels better. However, I also added Chronicle of Victory. Um, I'm now at the point where I'm like, I'm not sure this is actually great. Like I added it in. I'm really not having it for the card draw effect. When we look at the creature type, so fairy, fairy, not, fairy, fairy, not, fairy, fairy. So it will trigger in 8 instances, 6 instances, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 instances. So 6 of these and the commander. So it's going to trigger probably once per game. So I'm not looking at it for that. I am looking at it for 2/2 first strike and trample. That's a pretty solid anthem. But when we look at things, what are the other options that I'm getting for around that mana? For 5, I'm getting plus X, where X is the other amount of fairies. That's huge. This is typically like I drop this and I can finish the game. Eldrazi Monument is the other one. With now I have +1/+1 flying and indestructible. They already have flying. It's pretty irrelevant, but +1/+1 and indestructible is pretty huge. I used to run this more with more board wipes. The interaction that I've had is mostly spot removal at this point, and is actually kind of a weaker point of the deck. So I think I need to tune that as well, and I'm realizing that as I'm talking now. This is cute. I haven't cast it. Each player sacrifices 13 creatures of their choice. I can pay the black. I haven't found a use for it. Like I haven't cast it, and so this is something that I'm like, well, every time it ends up in my hand, I don't cast it. Does that mean that it's bad, or does that mean it's situationally good and can win me the game? It's something to keep in mind going forward. Much like Alela Cunning Conqueror, especially if I tune this up and she continues to be stuck in my hand or something that just doesn't trigger, then that means that she needs to go. Um, the question now is Chronicle of Victory. Do I keep it? I don't know. I'm also looking at Commander's Insignia. This was a card that was performing really well in my Krav and Regna. It's a little unfair to compare it there because that deck has 2 commanders. So if I cast both of them to get them both on the board and get my stuff online, it's automatically a +2/+2. Whereas it's also in my Hope deck, which Hope is lower to the ground in general, but I typically get 2/2. And so this is 4 mana, 2 white pips. What I was looking at to cut instead of having that is Etchings of the Chosen. So Etchings of the Chosen, the downside here is I have to choose a creature type. So now it's only fairies. So things like the Ocelot Pride, Elish Norn, they're still not getting anything off that. Whereas with Commander's Insignia, I would get it. Now I have to pay 1 more for it. I also can't remember the last time I paid the 1 to sacrifice a fairy. Target creature gains indestructible. I don't remember the last time that was relevant. So that's a kind of thing where I'm like, maybe. And with like Eldrazi Monument, this is going to just give everything indestructible. Etching of the Chosen, I got to pay that mana. I have to have that mana up. If I have that mana up, I'd rather have the interaction to just stop the effect in general instead of losing a creature and doing it. I do get the if it's spot removal, I do kind of get that 2 for 1 of like, or the opponent wasting a card, and so I technically gain a card of efficiency. But this is something where I'm like, I don't know. So we'll come back to that. I took out Crystal Skull. Uh, you may play historic lands and cast historic spells from the top of your library. It's a 4 mana rock that sometimes allows me to future sight. Um, it does work with Vidalcan Ori, Sensei's Divining Top, make infinite fairies kind of deal. Um, that's why I put it in there originally. But what I find is, uh, and this is something I have to reconsider. I also put Necropotence in. This is real heavy in the 3 black, but I'm tending to want to be casting this on like turn 5. So 3 black is okay because by turn 5 I should have some balance. It's got a pretty nice mana base in here. I've got all the shocks, I've got all the OG duels, um, so and then plenty of fetches. So I should be hitting 3 black. If not by turn 3, turn 3 is a little. That's just not going to happen most of the time. Turn 5 probably fine, um, especially with the mana rocks that are in there. So ideally, like Future Sight, great. I'm leaning too heavy into that combo. It is the only way that I'm finishing, and if I can't hit that, that's a problem. Necropotence helps sit that, and like with Future Sight, oh, you get 2 lands on top. You play the first one, second one you can't play, and so Necropotence clears the way for that. Um, that makes it a little bit easier, but really Necropotence is just it's I mean it's a game changer for a reason. I'm gonna refill the 7 every time, and then with like Thought Vessel, which is also in the deck here, and I can't remember the name, Reliquary Tower as well in here. I have no max hand size, so I don't worry about the downside of exile discards. So, uh, where does that leave me? I moved the Crystal Skull out. I also pulled Dimir Signet. I think Dimir Signet had gotten pulled with the intent of putting Heralded Banner in here. This is where I'm like, am I leaning too hard into higher mana cost rocks that do more? And if I want to play Alela turn 3, a 3 mana rock is not going to do it. Then I'm really starting to say, well, I have to change my expectations of how this deck is going to play and how I want it to play if I want to run these rocks this way. I think back in the time when it was functioning properly, I think I had all 3 talismans like I do now and all 3 signets. Um, Coupled with Arcane Signet, Thought Vessel, Mind Stone, all those other 2 mana produce 1 colorless rocks, that makes it very easy to cast Alela turn 3, right? Because I'm playing land. Maybe I'm casting something, but the deck really doesn't have many 1 drops. Yeah, 8 1 drops. Half of them are removal. Well, three, 2 removal, 2 tutors, 4 actual plays. So the likelihood of having that turn 1 play, it's either a tutor or these guys, it's real low. It's probably not in the opening hand. Um, so really, it's turn 1 play nothing, turn 2 rock, turn 3 Alela. That's where I'm shooting for. Um, Removing those, I think, hurt me. I think that's part of this, and I recently added the Mox Diamond, and I've got the Lotus Petal in there already. These are easy speed ups to allow me to get there. Chromatic Lantern is another one I'm thinking of cutting. The nice part is with Chromatic Lantern, I don't worry about these triple pips, double pips, triple pips. I can stop caring about that. And then because most of them are higher value, like 4 or 5, I can hit that Chromatic Lantern and then be done. However, I have a lot of mana fixing, and so it. I'm just gonna move this. Move to category. Maybe cut. Sometimes it's just nice just to keep what is in mind of underperformers, um, and then it's easy to look at to see, okay, this has actually been an underperformer, not doing what I need. Like I remembered the one with the multiverse as like something I need to cut this. It's just not doing well. But because that was 8 mana, I'm looking at it from turn one, or I'm looking at it from turn three when I draw it, and then to turn eight when I finally get to draw it, and it can, it's much more prevalent in how bad it's working. The other thing I noticed that was a little problematic, uh, I'm just not getting the high manas that I had. Smothering Tide, great, always works. However, if I don't get it or it gets removed immediately, especially with like the price tag going up and everyone kind of recognizes how difficult it is, once it gets out there, it gets removed and I don't get the mana values that I really want out of it. I'll like pay for, I get a fairy, so like it immediately gets some value, but then maybe a turn goes by, maybe I get a treasure, maybe I get two, and then it's removed. So I'm paying 4 mana for a fairy, maybe one treasure. Is that worth it? I don't know. But it does remove something. It's interesting as a concept of like how do you fly under the radar? Because Icarus and the wings and everything. If I play the biggest threat, if I play Smothering Tithe, the removal goes there. Why is that bad? Well, one, I lose a card. Two, a second player loses a card, which is a positive thing. However, players three and four are neutral. And so me losing a card and two players not doing anything, this is weird, um, they're up. So the pod is net better because I lost this card. However, if I had played something that was just kind of good instead of really good, then that removal might go somewhere else. Now I'm in those two people that were not neutral, and two of my opponents are down a card. So that's where, like, in Ristic Studies, another one where it's underperforming, uh, I don't get the cards that I need off of it when I need them. I'm relying on other players instead of just trying to be the powerhouse that I can. So like, Notorious Throng, like, uh, wait, is that draw? No, it's not even draw. It's just creating tokens. I may need to cut that card. Yeah. Um, yeah, I thought it was draw cards equal to, but it's just creating the fairy rogues, and maybe I get a bonus turn. That's I thought that was better than it was. And explains why I was looking at my draw pile and being like, there's so many more. So one of the things, this all came about mana. How do I improve my mana base? One of the things I realized I was missing was the Titanic God Core. Um, Obviously, Toiler and Academy, real good. This deck does play a lot of artifacts. So 22. So, the chances I see two in my opening hand are pretty high. And so that will net even Uthragos. And then if I get to the third, then I get, net +1, etc. And especially with, these being real low. The hard part is those lands or stations, and if I don't have things like Radiant Destiny, or other sources of vigilance, like the one I cut, the room, I'm either attacking or I'm getting the station. Granted, I can station the ones that come in that are summoning sick, and so with new ones with Alela that's already 2 power, the Anthem effect they can get up to 4 pretty quickly, and so that's 3 fairies to turn this online. That's really not bad. Okay, so Uh, what else had I already done? I still had 101. Um, I think I also cut Kindred Discovery, but I think what's going to end up happening. So Kindred Discovery, what I found was happening was I was drawing too many cards, and I think that was just dumb. Like I think like the point, or when I said, "Oh, I'm drawing too many cards off this," it's not a May, and so if I pulled the combo of Sensei's Divining Top, Vidalkin, and Cloud Key, then I'm drawing two, drawing three, instead of just getting one for one. So it's harder to put up an army. Dire Undercurrents is in May. It's the enter the battlefield effect. It's easier to cast than Kindred. Uh, this is something where like Enduring Curiosity of it's originally Coastal Piracy was the first effect that did it. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. So they reprinted it uh, in the Ikoria, um, and probably not. I'm really want to know what the card name is. Reconnaissance mission. They added cycling to it. It's slightly more expensive. It's the same. It's the same card. Functional reprint, added cycling, and then with Enduring Curiosity, they functionally reprinted it again, but now made it harder to remove. Um, so this feels better as like yeah, it's going to stick a lot more often. I kind of want to diversify in the draw because sometimes you'll end up getting board wiped repeatedly, and if everything I'm requiring has to hit somebody and I can't get a board state, I'm not drawing cards, I'm never catching up. uh, Whereas here I have, okay, enters the battlefield, draw, hits, draw, I don't care, draw, but does get stuck on lands. Hits or attacks, I don't care, draw. What are you doing? I draw. And so this is where maybe cut it. It also pulls the game changer list down, and it's similar to the smothering tide of like, well, Ristic Study, everyone gets annoyed. You have to say pay the one, they want to remove it. Maybe you do get a card, maybe you don't get a card. Like if you get two, great, it's paid for itself. You functionally expect 2 mana, draw a card is great. So this, if I get the two, it works out. If it gets removed immediately and they pay the one, it didn't. Like I tacked somebody for 1 mana and it's an effective flusterstorm. Like it's not great. So this is where like in CEH games where everyone's like hyper mana fixated and efficiency, that's way more important. But I don't know. That's another option. So, all right, I am still needing a cut. Um, the other option too is Elish Norn is another one that gets removed really quickly. It Chronicle, like because it's stapled on a body, so it's easier to remove that. There's a lot more creature removal effects. Two, uh, it's at that -2/-2, and so people feel it's more of a threat, more of a problem, and people want to get rid of it easier. Makes it difficult. Yeah. Um, I don't know. I don't know what to cut right now. I think we're gonna pull Notorious Throng. We're down to 9 rocks. I kind of want to build that back up. Technically 10, 11, 12. It's okay. Um, Yeah, I'm gonna leave those there for now. So I'm back to my 100. I still need to find the heraldic banner to stick into the deck, but otherwise, I'm back to my proper set. Um, and I've got things to look at. Or proper 100 cards. I've got 3 cards to look at as this plays and evaluate Uthrios as well. So now what I do? I'm gonna play test it a bit. So right off the bat, nice. I've got Leyline, I've got Enlightened Tutor, and I already know what I'm using with the Enlightened Tutor. The first thing I'm going to grab is some sort of card draw engine to go. Um, so I've got Hallowed Fountains, Marsh Flats, Swamp, so I can't get to 3 black right away. Um, and that's a little concerning. So I might hold off on immediately playing that Enlightened Tutor. So this is a keepable hand. So we're going to start with that. We'll go pre-game action, Leyline of Anticipation drops. Turn 1, okay, Enduring Curiosity. So now I have my card draw. So now I can play Marsh Flats. I can crack it. My video's in the way. G, yep. And then search for. So we want a black source and we want a white source so that I can cast that. So I'm going to grab Scrubland. And then the end of someone else's turn, I think what I want to grab is a mana rock. Um, a little bit that is playing into like, oh, I'm just fixing my mana. You're gonna draw less ire, especially. I'm not grabbing Soul Ring. I want that mana fixing. What am I at? So I've got black, white, blue, white, black. So I want something that's going to produce blue, especially so I can get my double blue pip. Um, so probably the talisman. Yeah, talisman of progress. No, I have 2 white sources, so I want blue black. Talisman of something. Probably saw me scroll past it. Actually, I can get Mox Opal. That is. No, I can't get Mox Opal because I have Call for Artifacts. So instead, no, I'll get the Arcane Signet. All right, so grab that. That goes on top. Turn 2, I'm going to play Swamp Arcane Signet. So now I am set up to shock myself and drop Alela turn 3. So in terms of game plan, uh, I'm seeing with this open and the first open, I'm able to drop Alela. Um, the next part too is I had the Leyline of Anticipation, so I can do all of this on other people's end steps. So Alela is only going to be around for someone's end step before I'm going to drop Enduring Curiosity and draw a card. So we'll drop into next turn. So I'm going to play my island. I'm going to attack, and then during attack, I'm going to be super cool and play things at instant speed. Drop the Thought Vessel and the Enduring Curiosity. I'm going to create a token. That's the first one. So I'm going to go ahead and get 2 fairies right off that, and then I'm going to get the card draw, tending to be before everyone really kind of recognizes. Now I'm also going to make myself a threat at this point, but at the very least, Enduring is going to is going to stick after a board wipe. I've got 6 mana, so I can recast Alela. Um, I'm in a pretty good state. So this is turn 4. Great. This is where I want to be. We're going to try it again. All right. So this is another really good open. So Reflecting Pool, Marsh Flats is going to get me into Talisman of Progress. I can hope that, so we're going to keep this. We're just going to check the first 3 turns. So 1, 2, 3. So I hit Soul Ring. So that was turn 1. I was going to do Reflecting Pool. Turn 2, I was going to do Marsh Flats. And well, the question would be actually, would I have gotten? No. I wouldn't have gotten that. All right. So turn 1, we're going to put this back. I get Marsh Flats because of Reflecting Tower and because of Marsh Flats being there. The first thing I'm going to grab is Rafine's Tower. Um, and then with Reflecting Pool, now I have, two triomes. So turn two draw would have been this, flowering the white tree because of uh, shuffling the library. So then talisman, and then turn three, I miss. So turn three, so this is where sometimes this was happening, missing that land drop. Um, Missing that. Now I'm kind of jammed up a little bit. What I'll probably do is do that, send that to the graveyard, grab Soul Ring, and then play it. Now, you know, people might not be as concerned because I missed the land drop and played the Soul Ring, and especially off the tutor, but I did do some flashy shit, and that sometimes upsets lizard brain, like, you on a base level. Um, okay, so I hit my third land drop, turn four, not terrible. Um, Chalk it in, one, two, three, float for the commander. Do I need to? No, so I guess I don't have to shock it in because I don't. I really would have loved to drop Flowering in the Right Tree the first turn I'm playing Alela, but right here I'm already getting more consistency. Like that, you're gonna have bad land games. This was not something that was the deck building process. So we're gonna try one more time. All right, so this is a miss. This does allow me to play a Layla turn three. However, I'm done after that. I got nothing. I got Path of Ancestry, so I can scry, so I can see like four cards by turn three. But I tend to prefer just having the draw in open. So even though it's five lands and a little bit of choice in there, I'm gonna mulligan. Oh, this sucks. So this is another one. Now I'm in trouble because this is good. I have Future Sight. So Future Sight is a pseudo card draw because I can always play things off the top. I have a Swamp into Soul Ring, but if this was a Plains or something that produced white, I'd be totally fine with Smothering Tide, Land Tax, Soul Ring. However, I just can't. So let's try it again. Oh, okay. Um, so this is ridiculous, and I kind of would keep it because I would absolutely. So this technically land tax is drawing cards, but this is just ridiculous. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna show. So turn one, I'm gonna drop three Tree City, choosing fairies, colorless, Soul Ring, Mox Opal, Lotus Petal, uh, and then I'm gonna tap that for land tax. Um, then turn two, uh, Swamp and Swamp. Or I stack the Lotus Petal, tap for blue, uh, white, and I have one floating Alela. I probably would have tutored for land tax, but I forgot. Sorry, a little bit fucked up this. So then next turn, we'll land tax and we'll grab. Um, I think I wanted hand move to hand. Yeah, I can hit H. All right. Sometimes Architect is not the greatest, but specifically in this, in searching, I don't like it. Um, I like everything else about it except for this. So I'm just gonna grab the basic three, um, and then we hit next turn. All right, so I'm stuck. That was part of what I was concerned about. Mox Opal is no longer online, so I have to play the swamp one to turn Mox Opal back on. No, I have the life link, but like this is not really what I would love to see card drawing into Force of Negation, but I was greedy. It was a great open. I was greedy. So let's just we're gonna tutor again, and then we'll see what the next draw was and see if I got bit for it. Yes, I wanted that to hand. Hands. hand, hand. Um, Partially the play style of this too, with land tax. Get them all. Always get them. It filters the deck. It makes you less likely to draw additional lands on your turn, so you're more likely to draw gas. Um, Typically, I can fail to find, and I can get all 12 basics that I have in the deck into hand or on the battlefield. Um, I don't miss land drops after that. And even if I end up starting to have oops, we wanted to hit next turn. So now I got a swamp anyway. So I'm just gonna play the island so I can set up for the high face trickster, but also leaving force of negation mana up. I'm gonna hit. Everyone's gonna feel a little bad for me because I ain't got shit. I think I played the whip after, so I think I have a fairy too. Um, so I'd probably leave a Layla for defense and hit for 2 and gain the life. But like, yeah, I'm probably bitching about drawing lands. So then we'll send that to the yard, and then we'll do it one more time. But you can see like this is why I try not to do that. I try and always have that draw in hand because it makes it more consistent. So move to hand, move to hand. I think that's pretty close to my 12. So I got one in the yard, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, so that's it. I pulled all the basics. And then next turn, turn 5, I hit another land. I feel like this is what always happens whenever I do that. Um, no point in playing the Cabal Coffers right now. I don't have Urborg, which that can be a dead land, which is also partially why I have Chromatic Lantern in there as a backup so that this doesn't just be dead. But so play the planes and be sad. I probably played the Fairy Master or Trickster at the end of someone else's turn. So then now extra cards in hand. We're gonna pitch not swamps. Um, and then yeah, so turn 5, I'm okay. Like this is still turn 5. I still have 5 lands. I still have a board presence. Uh, it's not as strong as I want this to be performing because this technically is a 4, so I should be really starting to get a good game state, a good board state for this. And instead, I'm just doing okay. Um, so next turn, fail to find the Chromatic Lantern. So I'll play that and drop the Chromatic Lantern. Now it taps for mana, and be sad. Okay, so let's go back. Um, so obviously I got games where I got a little flooded, and then another game where I got not an all mana. Um, but then I had 2 good games, so a 50% good game rate in gold fishing is not terrible. I'm still looking at cutting these. Maybe these turn into a rock. Maybe it probably is going to turn into low mana card draw, um, and look into something along those lines. Like Argyl's Bloodfast is something that can come down early and allow me to draw when I need it. Um, let's see, what else do I have? Biden Athasa is another coastal piracy. Whenever you deal combat damage, draw. Um, what other lower to the ground draws are in here? That's not draw. It's just yeah. He's an interesting one of like I can pay 2 and bounce a mana rock and replay it and copy it and keep making more mana rocks, and so he'll eventually pay for all of that. But he's not a fairy, and it was against what I was trying to do with the deck, so it felt dirtily. Erebos is another draw engine. Um, Greed is my favorite pet draw. Paying 2 life and drawing, especially when the commander has lifelink stapled on, and then Whip of Erebos is also getting it. Whip of Erebos does feel just kind of okay in this deck, but also the nice part with Alela is I just want it to happen when I'm casting. So say somebody kills her and I have Whip on board, I can let her go to the graveyard, pay the 4, return her to the battlefield, so effectively paying her mana value again, then cast my stuff, Then when she leaves the battlefield, I just return her to the command zone, and so I get a turn each time I activate this. I get a turn where I basically pay her for regular value. It's fine. Um, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's fine. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how I retuned it. Um, Strict Serenade is another one that is on maybe cut. I tend to want Swan Song when I have Strict Serenade in hand, and even Arcane Denial would feel better because I'm just getting rid of something completely. Strix, I originally put this in here one because I don't have another Swan Song, and then the other reason was it just says fuck your commander. Uh, Target artifact, creature, or planeswalker spell. But when I want to interact, I tend to want to stop people from hurting me. And artifact creatures and planeswalkers are not those. So it's yeah, it's on the chopping block. Yeah. So all right, that's what I got.